does that affect, so back 2008, you just no one was lending. You'd have private lenders, you'd have these mid-tier lenders, banks were closing. Like the government pumped in just as much, if not more money into everything in 2008 than they did now. But they went to the banks, and it's a different type of, most of it's still been the banks. But to me, it seems like nothing can slow down until the ability to get money in the real estate world. It seems like there's always just so much more money, and they're adjusting really quickly. It's affecting some of the sellers' cap rates, but how does like lending and all that look like in the next couple of years as how free it is right now?
Yeah. So, well, you hit the nail on the head with like how the money was released in 2008 versus now. And that's the reason we're seeing a lot of inflation now. In 2008, basically the government said, okay, we need to release, it was something like $4 trillion into the economy. And the way they did it is they gave $4 trillion to the banks, and they told the banks, go lend more money. In reality, the banks didn't lend, they couldn't lend $4 trillion. There weren't $4 trillion worth of worthy borrowers out there. So the banks lent $1 trillion, $1.5 trillion, $1.75 trillion, and they left $2 trillion in their reserves. And so we didn't really see $4 trillion, even though we issued $4 trillion in stimulus, we didn't see $4 trillion come into the economy. And the money that did come into the economy went very strategically to worthy borrowers who basically went to the bank and said, I can prove that I can pay this back. That's different from 2020. In 2020, and from 2020 to now, it's actually been closer to $9 trillion. So we've actually released twice as much this time around than last time. But more importantly, instead of giving that money to the banks and saying, hey, lend more money, control the flow of money into the economy, instead, what the government did was they said, and rightfully so, because 2020 was a really bad time and people were starving and couldn't work. They said, instead of going through the banks, we're just going to start sending checks to people. And we're going to start giving out PPP loans to businesses that they don't have to pay back, and EIDL loans that businesses don't have to pay back. And we're going to bail out the cruise industry, and we're going to bail out the airline industry. And we just started handing out all this money, not through banks. We just handed it out. And so this money kind of, I've used the analogy, it's like taking drugs. You go into a doctor's office for surgery, and they stick the mask over your face, and you breathe in the anesthetic, and that kind of slowly gets into your body. That was 2008 versus the guy that's doing heroin and injecting heroin directly into his veins. That was 2020. That gets into your system a lot faster. You don't have to wait for that. And that's what happened in 2020. We injected this cash right into the heart and veins of the economy. And so all that money, where did it go? It went someplace. It went ultimately into assets. That money flowed from people that needed it to pay for their food and their clothes and their everyday items into businesses. And then the businesses got this money, and that went to the owners of the businesses. And the owners of the businesses had this money, and they started buying real estate and crypto and stocks. And basically, we just saw this tremendous asset inflation. And so that's why we are seeing a lot more inflation now than we did in 2008. It's not that we did print a lot more money, but it's more the way we released the money into the system. Now, that didn't answer your question. That was a great analogy, though. Yeah, this is the reason we have a bigger issue today than we did 10 years ago. I get that question a lot. Like, didn't we print a lot of money back then? Why didn't we see a lot of inflation for the last 10 years? Well, that's the reason. But in terms of lending, yeah, I think what we're going to see is, and we see this in a lot of recessions, I don't think we're going to have a 2008 type event. I don't think we're going to see a crash. If we do see a major downturn, I don't think real estate's going to get hit nearly as bad this time as it did in 2008. If you look back over the last 160 years, this will be our 35th recession in the last 160 years. That means if you do the division, 160 divided by 35, there's a recession every 5 years. We see a lot of recessions. 99% of them, or some vast majority of them, I think I can only think of two where real estate got hit really hard. That was the Great Depression and the Great Recession in 2008. 33 of the 35 recessions, or 32 out of the 34 recessions that we've seen till now, real estate hasn't gotten hit that hard. Maybe it's gotten hit a little bit, but wasn't like 2008. So just statistically, what we've seen throughout history in this country, the next recession is probably not going to hit real estate that hard. But what we do tend to see is lending tighten up. We see credit tighten up. And this is often what leads to a bigger downturn in the economy in general. people have trouble borrowing money so that they can pay their mortgage or buy stuff on their credit cards. People have lots of debt. I mean, that's no secret. And so people are relying on credit. They're relying on debt to continue to live. Basically, it's this pyramid scheme that we all kind of build up in our families where we have lots of debt, and to pay our mortgage or to buy clothes or to buy food next month, we need more debt. And when lenders say, hey, we're not making debt easy to get, or we're only allowing debt to go to people that are credit worthy, lots of people start to fail. Lots of families start to fail. Lots of small businesses start to fail. And what we see people claim bankruptcy. We see businesses claim bankruptcy. We see people go into foreclosures. And basically what's happening is all this debt that people are created it's vanishing. If I foreclose on my house, that $300,000 in debt I might have on my mortgage goes away. I mean, it doesn't really go away. The bank eats it, but it goes away. If I claim bankruptcy, that $100,000 somebody might have on their credit card, that kind of goes away. Again, it doesn't go away, but the credit card company eats it. But we have all this debt that if you look at a chart that shows we have $14 trillion in consumer debt right now during a recession, because people are declaring bankruptcy and businesses are going out of businesses and things are getting foreclosed on, that $14 trillion in debt drops to 8 trillion or 7 trillion or 9 trillion. And basically we've sort of reset the economy. And this is what a recession is. It's basically a reset in the debt of the economy, so that we can start again. And then in 5 or 6 or 8 years, after we've built up all that debt again, we can do the same thing again.